two things that I've learned about realtors. That's the thing where no one can tell me anything about realtors because I've coached so many different realtors for 10 years. There's two things about realtors that I've realized. One, they're either doing it all themselves, or two, they're not doing it at all. So you guys are either doing everything yourself or you're not doing it at all. And if you are doing it, it's not repeatable. You're not doing it consistently. It's like, well, when do you go in your CRM and do this, and this? Oh, just whenever I get a lead. Okay, well then that's not repeatable, right? When do you make phone calls to your database? Oh, once a month. Okay, see, like we can really sit down and then we wonder, okay, why are we stressed? Why don't we know where our next lead is coming from? And I'm just talking in general, sure, I'm not talking about you, but why don't we know where our next lead is coming from is because we either are doing it all ourselves or we're not doing it at all. And that's what we got to break down as a group, because the development stuff, the owning rental properties, the buying businesses, all the other stuff I want to get you guys to, we won't get there until we can get this part of our business repeatable and process oriented and leveraged. So those are the three words we need to talk through today before we get into the questions. Repeatable, process oriented, and leveraged. So something that's repeatable means I can hand it to my 12-year-old and she can do it. If she can't do it as a 12-year-old, then it's not repeatable. Then process oriented. That means, is there a checklist? Is there a roadmap? Is there something that I can follow? There's a reason why there's highway signs and, hey, get off here on exit 63 so that you can get here. There's a roadmap telling you where to go. And if I don't have a roadmap telling me where to go, a GPS telling me where to go, how am I going to get there consistently? And then the last piece, if I can't leverage it, then I'll always be a slave to my business. Always. And then think about it. If you guys just got those three pillars down and then you got leverage, then that frees you up to do so many other things. You're still working in your business and you're still working on your business, but you're able to get some of that time back to go do other stuff. And that's where everybody's like, well, how do you do so much shit? Because I've learned this principle. And it's a hard principle to wrap your mind around because it's counterproductive to what we were taught as kids, as high school, and as college graduates. It's counterproductive. It doesn't make any common sense, which is why you see people really understand the model and you're like, how in the hell are they doing that? I know I'm just as talented as that person. I work as hard as that person. That person doesn't work harder than me. They just learn those processes. They've learned repeatable processes. They learn how to leverage and they've hired talent. So that's the key. That's going to be the key. And I'm going to keep pounding y'all on the head. And here's why, because it's fundamentals. It's truly fundamental. It's the fundamental game to entrepreneurship. And I've tried this over multiple different companies. And I know like right now, there's a couple of my companies that we can't get this concept down and it's beating me across the head. So I'm literally living what I'm teaching to you guys. And in the companies that I have figured it out, they sell. Like I'm not even involved half of the time. So just keep chewing on that. I want you to go back, really look through what that looks like for you. And then maybe next week, you or somebody can step up and we can really break down your business and say, okay, here are your pain points. Here are your leverage points. Here's what we can make a repeatable process out of. And here's how we create a roadmap. And then we just recycle that over and over and over. And so like, if you guys have seen the McDonald's movie, like they had a manual on where to put the pickle. When you were doing double cheeseburgers and Big Macs at McDonald's, when you got hired, they told you exactly where they wanted their pickle. Don't put it at the top. Put it right here on the burger, right? When you do the ice cream, this is exactly how we want it. And that's why they scaled and it was a repeatable. So it's like, if you look at across any business, this is something I was talking to Eric about this weekend. If you look at across any business, any hotel chain, any billion-dollar company, it's those three things I just talked about. So that's the good to great. If y'all read that book and you've probably heard the flywheel concept, that's what he calls it, in good to great. So we'll dive into Q&A, but I just want you guys to really get that piece because remember, my ultimate goal for everybody in this course is to become a real estate entrepreneur. But I got to get you out of the realtor seat at some point. And there's just certain principles that, see, remember, I'm like the coach. You're playing on the field in front of 100,000 people. So you feel so much pressure because you're in the game. You can't see past the play that you're playing because it's moving so fast. But I'm literally sitting 100 feet high up at the top of Kyle Field with binoculars. And I have all this technology where I'm watching you play. And I'm like, damn it, don't do that, do this. Because I can see, I have a bird's eye view of what you're doing. So just know that when I'm helping you guys, I'm coaching you and I'm talking from perspective. I've seen so many plays of real estate that I know what it takes to, okay, we got to do this. Then the next play, we're going to score a touchdown. Great. So let's jump into Q&A. But Cheryl, I'm excited to see, because I can tell you in your mind, you're having those thoughts. That's the first part. It starts with the mindset, because a lot of times there's realtors that I try to coach, I have tried to coach, and they can't get past themselves. There's a reason why some brokers take a little bit longer to see the model of EXP, because they can't get past themselves. Even though they're drowning, you pull up their P&Ls, they're making no money. They just can't see past themselves. But I can tell you're having that conversation in your mind. So that's where it starts. We got to know that we need it. Then we work on it. Then we accomplish it.
Thanks, Tim.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's just open up Q&A. Let's go.
Where do I find the day part? Because I'm ready to just replace the rest of myself. It's just the day is, for me, it's a little challenging with getting the right people. And like, I have so much information in my head and I put a lot of it down, but I really just want to dump it into people and just replace myself. But that's my challenge.
No, that's good. Let's talk through that, Shelly Ann. So the biggest thing is finding good people. Here's the challenge. Everything is statistics. Just like if we talk about the statistic we've went over and over about that, when you get to year 5, only 12 to 13% of realtors make it. That's not my stat. That's an NAR stat. So now you're telling me 82% of the other people don't make it to year 5? Nope. So it's a very small pool of people that you can hire. You got to remember, people don't want to work anymore. People are lazy, but they want everything. They got this microwave industry that we're in now where it says, hey, I want to press the button and I want it now. And that's the reason why I created the one brick mentality, to remind myself how I got to this point in life and how I'm going to keep going. If I just build this thing one brick at a time, one day at a time, I'm gonna outlast everybody and I'm gonna go past. So what we got to do is we got to carry that thought process. And I need it, just like you create funnels and lead gen for leads, you need to create funnels and lead gen for talent. So you got a couple of ways you can do it. One, you can create a vision so big that it attracts those people into your world. 2, you create lead gen processes that attract people, right? Find a university that's close to you. Find a hiring center that you can, do 1-day interns with or 1-week interns with. Do a social media challenge where it's like, hey, we're going to do this challenge. Boom, 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 boom. I'm looking for someone who wants to learn real estate, who wants to be mentored. I'm going to start a mentorship program. Nothing formal. Just going to do a 1-week intern. I'm going to bring in 7 of y'all at once. And y'all are going to follow me for 5 days. And at the end of it, one of y'all will get hired part-time. I remember I did this thing for a role at one of my businesses. We had 550 resumes in 7 days. Now, the hard part was combing through all of them, but that's a good problem to have. So then I started doing group interviews, but I didn't tell you. So you showed up at the office thinking you're finna get a one-on-one. You walk in the room, there's 15 people sitting in there. And then I would come in and sit down and interview everybody at once. Man, I was churning through talent. I made everybody feel like they were with me one-on-one, but that was my way to leverage those 550 resumes. But do that and say, hey, are you guys interested in becoming a real estate entrepreneur or a realtor? I'm going to be doing a challenge in 30 days, but for the next 4 weeks, I need this, and this. Comment below, submit your resume, whatever. Hell, I don't know. And just find creative ways. That's the reason I'm going to always kick people's ass. I'm never going to lose. As long as God gives me the ability to be creative, I'm always going to be creative enough to put something different out there. And most of the time it works and sometimes it doesn't. You may try that challenge in 30 days on social media and it flops. Great. Next thing. Because it's always better than what we're doing right now. So we just got to find a way to funnel talent to you, Shelly Ann. Now, once you get the talent, you need to have a process. How am I going to sift through it? So remember, anytime you're going to create a new thing in your business, pull up the SSC. I got those questions on there. Obviously, I'm not going to go through it now because I went through it in detail on the video, but pull up the SSC. So what's my strategy? My strategy is to find talent. Where's my day? Okay, that's my strategic intent. Okay, so what's my strategy? Do I do social media challenge? Do I go to call centers? Do I find, whatever people in this industry? You may focus right in on one industry and just start pulling people out of that industry and trying to bring them over into your industry. You may do the mentorship or internship program because the talent is there. You just got to find it, and you got to find the ones that want to work. Then once you get them, how are you going to teach them? What's my 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day? Those are the most important time for anybody that y'all hire. 30, 60, 90. Trust me, I've hired a lot of people. The most important window for somebody you hire is 30, 60, 90. And literally you create these objectives for the first 30 days. All right, so this first week, this is what we're going to do. Next week, this is what we're going to do. After 2 weeks, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk through how I feel about you, how you feel about me. Then another 2 weeks, because you don't want to get past that first month if they ain't got it. And then the last thing I'll tell you is don't hire anybody without a personality profile. I gave you guys Manesh Boxy. He's also on my website. If you go to terrencemurphy.com and go to that link where it's Scale Virtually and some of the other stuff, Manesh is on there. Just tell him, obviously, you're a part of my coaching. You can do a personality profile, and then he'll give you one free coaching session, or you can use that. If you get somebody that's really talented and you're like, I think this is the guy or this is the young lady, then do a personality profile on them. Make sure they're the right person before you invest your time. And I will not hire you unless your personality matches up to my job description. I know I'm talking fast, but I know I'm throwing some heat. And if you really sit down and think through that, just say, all right, I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to watch this over and over what Murphy's saying, and I'm just going to take my time. I think last thing I'll say, Shelly Ann, where I have a competitive advantage and where you have a competitive advantage is we have it in our heads. That's the first part. A lot of people don't even have it in their heads. But now it's slowing down and creating that process. Y'all gonna hear me say this over and over till I'm blue in the face about creating these processes. But then you're gonna look up, you're gonna hire the first person, you're gonna hire the second person. Then it's like, oh, well, it's just kind of flowing now.
One quick question, Terrence. How, and I can't remember if it's in the coaching docs, but how do you know like the different hires and what personality they should have?
Yes, ma'am. Go back and study your personality profile. You got, 60 pages on yourself? But go study that framework. Remember the wheel that I pulled up on one of the calls? Go study that wheel. So the coordinator, the analyzer, the implementer, the conductor, the relator, and really understand. And then I think the other was the persuader. And look at the pros and cons to each personality and really understand what the DISC means. And it's fairly simple. If you want a salesperson, they need to be DI or IS or IC. But if you want a transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, virtual assistant, social media manager, anybody that's going to do a repeatable process, they need to be SC, period. Or they need to be on the left side of the wheel. Remember, I showed y'all the wheel and it's kind of in an angle, but it's the implementer, the coordinator, the supporter. If they're not on that left side of the wheel or on a dot or a star, don't hire them in a transaction role. They may be great for something else. They're just not great at that. I guarantee you, if you hire me, I'll be one of the most talented people you ever hired, but I'll be a terrible transaction coordinator. And I'll run you in the ground trying to make me do the job. So, and then vice versa. I'm pretty sure I know y'all are killers. That's why we're on the call together. But if I put you in the wrong seat, you're going to be miserable. So just know that you got to put people in the right seat. And that's your duty and your job as the leader.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, T. Murphy said your salespeople need to be DI, right?
They don't have to be. I would prefer them to be DI, but they can be, if they're D anything, they're going to be a salesperson. But the better combination is DI because they're dominant, they get shit done, but they like being around people. They can be DC or DS. Like I'm DC. I'm very dominant, obviously, but I'm compliant. I like shit done right, but I'm not steady at all. Like I'm very inconsistent in a sense. Like I don't want to do the same thing every day, all day. So I have to force myself to do it.
And then for the transaction coordinator, you said SC, but then when you were talking about the left side of the wheel, you said implementer, coordinator. What was the third one?
Supporter.
Thank you.
Yep. So when you pull that wheel, Katie, track that left side. And you know, because you've seen me hire people over the years, the Shannons, the Courtneys, Roberts, the Raels, the Ambers, those people have been the best people because they're on that side of the wheel.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. All right, y'all, let's go. Q&A.
Hey, so Terrence, so a follow-up to Shelly Ann's question, and I kind of ran this by Katie last week, but the NFLPA has a program, entrepreneurship program and internship program, kind of talking what you were talking about with Shelly with. And I wanted to run by a program with you where the NFLPA reaches out to corporations, and there's a program that they have where they will bring in interns throughout the season, just depending on the time of year for NFL players. Obviously, you're a former NFL player and NFL alumni. So I thought for me, being an NFL agent along with being a real estate agent, that could be a niche that I try to produce. Any thoughts on that?
I do. I think it's a great niche. I think you got an opportunity that you need to capitalize on. If I'm you tonight or this evening or right after this meeting, I sit down and I pull up the SSC and I walk out my model right then and there. I build it out. Because what you can do actually, in my opinion, is that can be an attraction funnel for you. Yes, you're interning, but you can tell them, hey, man, get your real estate license. It takes you 30 to 45 days. It's nothing to keep it, up to date because most of those guys obviously went to college, so they can do it. And then, man, you can already start a passive income stream by, attracting other teammates who want to get their license or fans who want to be on your team. I'm telling you, like, if I would have knew about this stuff when I was in Green Bay, I'd be a 10,000 agency hell, a couple of weeks. So there's a way to really leverage that while still bringing them value. And I would just use it as an attraction model and pouring into them about three things that NFL guys want. They want to learn how to invest their money. They don't know what they're doing next. So you're giving them a pathway to something else. Even if they don't become a full-time realtor, it just feels good to know that, shit, I actually have an idea of what I could do with my life. And then the third thing is having some type of transition plan in place, like somebody who can mentor them. And you can do all three of those.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Let's get it, y'all. Popcorn.
Hey, T, I had a question real quick. So obviously I'm running the team now, and, we've been working to try to, get the leads flowing in. Like with your team, are you just having them only dive into the system and make calls out of your database, or do they actually receive, because with my team, they receive the leads and it drops to them or whatever. But what I was noticing is like some people weren't actually speeding to lead, or, and then in some cases we had make it rain. So some of them were coming with these emails or whatever, and I was having to do the research. But for y'all, was it really kind of like, is it dropping it to them where they're getting alerts and they're receiving the leads kind of like a Shark Tank or a round robin? Or are they having to get into the database and make calls only on your side?
So I got 70 lead generation tactics that we call them faucets. So I can turn them on like water, I can turn them off. And I'm actually working on trying to make that a process so that I can have it where I can explain it to you guys. So that's going to be dropping on one of the levels. But it's so extensive that we've been literally building it out for about 3 months. And I'm doing it just for y'all. But the point is, so multiple. So yes, I want them in the database calling, but also I'm dropping leads on them too. One of the things that is probably the best lead gen, we took everybody's cell phones off our signs and we put one number for every one of our listings. So no matter who has the listing, it's the same number. And it's just it's a text number, or it's a phone. So you can text it, you can QR code it, or you can call it. And so everybody gets to rotate who gets the team phone. And based on what I know, that's like gold for them. Like, it's like a fight to have the team phone. And that's why I'm always on their ass. If you don't want the team phone, don't take it, because it's so much rich leads coming in. So that's a process you might want to consider, is having one general phone that gets the phone calls for every one of the listings. So I took it's a long history behind it, but either way, it's like floor time, but not sitting at the office, because I don't want anybody just sitting around waiting on the phone to ring, because you get the QR code, the text, and the phone calls.
That being said, Terrence, if I can add, they do have a pond that they fish leads out of in the database. And then on top of that, the website has their own personalized URL so that they can get leads directly to them when they post the website and stuff like that.
Perfect. So that's what we're doing. So we have the Rainbow Fish Pond. They all have their own websites and URLs. So that's perfect. So we have that. We just got our new signs in. So we have one main number on the signs. But were you saying that you guys removed the writers where they had their individual numbers, and you just put like a texted number there?
Yeah. So what we used to do, I actually was one of the first brokers, probably in Texas, back in like 2011. Back then, that's when everybody was still on floor time. So you had to sit at the office and just whatever. And then I started saying, no, I want my agents at my brokerage to put their face on the sign and get the numbers, calls themselves. So I actually started doing that back in the day, but now I reversed it to where nobody's face is on the sign because they're on a team. And then everybody has the same rider. So we don't have custom riders anymore, including me. I took my name off of everything. So nobody has custom riders. It's all going to that team phone.
Perfect. So then it creates lead flow for the entire team. Okay. So then all I need to order is my texted, like my short code writers for all of these. And then we can just set them out.
And get one general cell phone that all those texts, emails, and everything goes to.
Gotcha.
And they literally physically pass that phone around to each other. I believe it's our phone. But.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you can tell who's motivated by who wants the phone.
Yep. And we now have a 0 strikes rule. You're out. If something happens, because we had a couple times where literally somebody had submitted an offer on a $2.7 million fucking listing. I ain't even saying it out loud. And it was sitting for 2 days because they had the phone and it was in their inbox and it was just sitting there. We didn't even know we had a cash offer on the $2 million listing. And I told them if that ever happens again, if the person with that phone, they get a whole year, they don't get the phone because that's just ridiculous.
Oh my.
It was, it's terrible. But either way, the point is There's zero tolerance. If something happens on the phone and because you didn't respond, oh, well, I decided to sleep in this Saturday, or I wanted to get up and go for a walk, then don't take the damn phone. So we tell them, if you don't want it, don't take it. But that's where we're trying to find that balance of, almost not being greedy, but it's like, well, I want it, but I don't want it. Well, that don't work on our team. So we're okay with somebody getting it a whole month straight. If they want it and they respond, great. You have don't have off at night and all that stuff. Nope. And so they understand that responsibility. And as long as they get it, then shoot, I'll let them handle who gets the phone.
Thank you. I got it. Duly noted.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out how I want to structure my team. I've already got it set as I forgot what it's called, but the standard or whatever, where it's the automatic 25% off the top fee. But what I'm trying to figure out is, do I want it to be a team that's strictly mentoring, or do I want it to be a team that I am replacing myself in some aspects and then eventually creating a coaching course of some kind as a recruitment tool? And I don't really know how to weigh the pros and cons of those because they overlap in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I can help you. You ready?
Yep.
So one of the things, Katie, you and I both struggle with is we tend to think about all the scenarios because that's just the way our mind works. That's just who we are. But remember, at times, as I coached you over the years, I'm like, don't overthink it. Just do it. Right. And just like, don't change the model. Don't pivot it. Just do it. And then let's see what the results are. Then we pivot.
Okay.
So what I would encourage you to do is on either model, just pick one and go. And then say for 6 months, I'm just going to do it. And then I'm going to look at the film, right? Like just go play the soccer game, try the moves. If they work, great. If they don't, great. Then let's go back. Let's watch the film. And then we can pivot from there.
Okay.
So that's what I would say do. And another thing I would say is you already know the value of leverage. And I would say understand what your team value is going to be. And if you can justify the right splits for it, then just follow the model you already know is in place.
Okay.
Yep. And remember the thing that I did from when you were leading it, I scaled it back dramatically. So it's not as labor intensive for you because it's really, you got to, the team knows I'm not going to micromanage them. Like they're going to do their job. And if they don't, here's the things that's going to happen. And then there's a way for you to really kind of get some of yourself back, but leverage that and give it up, because you got a lot of value that you can bring. The coaching is important. The mentorship is important, but is it the services? The thing that I've learned out of anything, if y'all didn't hear anything else I said today, if you're going to grow a team, see where we get caught up is we think people need leads. The services are more important than leads. Because if you can teach people how to then leverage themselves and they can leverage a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, a bookkeeper, or a social media person, they're not having to do anything other than just convert, call, and show and write offers and then get out of the way. That services is the more important piece than the leads.
That makes sense. And that leads me to my next question. How do I pick which one to try first for the 6 months? But you just answered it. So I'm good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here's the thing we got to remember. Everybody screams they got leads, but that lead that you bought on Zillow or Realtor.com or HomePads or whatever the hell you bought it from, they're on my website for free. So everybody can scream they got leads, but that's what I'm telling you. It's the vision. It's the track record. It's the mentorship. It's the services. That stuff's so much more important than out. Because remember, if they came for leads, they're going to leave for what?
Leads.
So you got to come and be a part of my world for something more important than some damn leads. Like anybody can just strike a check and buy leads online and then pass them down to somebody else. If that's your unique selling proposition, then you have no value. You got to create value in so many other ways than leads. That's why I've never led with leads. I've never heard me go on any training, on anything, talking about, I'm going to give you leads. Like, no, I don't lead with leads. I lead with so much more than leads because I know my value is so much more than that. Anybody can buy leads. And y'all's value is so much more than that. Just understand what it is. I'm telling you, like the stuff I'm telling y'all, it's like you can literally just translate it across the board. What's your unique value proposition? I went over that when your unique selling proposition, when you're talking to buyers and sellers. I went over when y'all are talking about attracting people to your org. Now I'm telling you the same exact thing about attracting people to your personal team. It's not complicated. You just got to do the hard work and make it repeatable.
So say you want to do like investment properties, rentals, and you want to formulate like a LLC. That would be separate than like EXP, for example. Like some people have property groups. So that would be a whole separate things. Like that's not merging two. That's like having two separate almost businesses, would you say? Or is there a way to like funnel those through and connect them in any way?
Yes, man, that's a good question. So I have I think about 85 to 100 LLCs or entities, and none of them has anything to do with EXP. So you can form LLCs to own real estate, to buy real estate, to develop real estate, and it doesn't need to run through EXP. Now, if it's a transaction, like people don't realize my number one client is me. I've never said that out loud, but my number one, as a realtor, my number one client is myself, because I buy more real estate and I build more real estate than any of my other clients. So I represent myself. And then now I let the team represent me. So I throw Viet and Laura and Teresa and Jabari and Henry deals all the time. But like Viet jokes around, I'm his number one client and I'm his team leader. But the point is, yes, you can create an LLC that you can purchase real estate, and it doesn't have to be through EXP, other than if it's a transaction. Obviously, you got to write it on a contract. You have to disclose to all parties that you're a licensed realtor or broker, and then you run the sales transaction, just no different than a real estate deal. And that's why I said on the stage at Bill Conference in front of 5,000, 6,000 agents, however many was there, you will never be able to sell your way into financial freedom. The only way is to take what we're doing and then turn it into purchasing real estate and buying businesses. But I think you're on the right track. And remember, that's my next level. I mean, that's my next course. I'm working to get through $1 billion real estate agents so I can give y'all all the tools you need. And then the next one, which is the one I'm most excited about, is $1 billion real estate investor. And that's where I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up real estate entities, how to purchase real estate, all the way from your first investment property to buying a $50 million apartment complex. And I just closed on one last week. So I'm not telling y'all anything I'm not doing. I'm not reading it in the book and then telling you. I'm doing it and then I'm writing it down.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Terrence, I wanted to just thank you for all that you're doing. One, and I know, you've been in the industry for 10, 12 years, and you literally have fast tracked us, right? So my question is, knowing that it took you to get where you are today, like, what would you say the timeline is for just people that's been in the industry just a few years? Like, what does that fast track look like for you? Because it seems like a lot of information fast, and I can handle it, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not like putting too much pressure on myself to make all this thing happen like in a year or in a few months. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
that's a great question. I think if you ask me, like, to truly set it up right. So I look at everything in like 2 to 3 ways. One, just starting the journey, because sometimes it takes people years to just start the journey. 2, you'll never be there. Like, you'll always be like, tomorrow we got to sharpen this. We got to make this better. That's why I love entrepreneurship. That's why I love sports, because even Michael Jordan was still working on his shot. So you'll never arrive. So what I would say is you set these goals that work for you. So in a year, my goal is to get to 10 million in volume, right? So whatever I need to do from what Terrence is teaching me, I want to get to 10 million, or I want to net 100K, or I want to have a team of 5. So you set these like specific, these smart goals and these milestones, and you really go on your own journey. But if you ask me, it really is open-ended, because some people can take what I'm coaching and teaching and do it in 12 to 24 months. And some people, it may take 3 to 5 years, but it's really no rush. Because remember, if this was like a technology business or something that we needed to like make it happen overnight, or there would be no opportunity, but we got time. And so it's really just in God's timing with each and every one of y'all. But I would say more than anything, to answer your question, is create those points in the journey, those breadcrumbs, to say, okay, I'm going where I need to go. I'm not there yet, but I'm better than where I was before I got into Terrence's course. So just set something like that where you can look back and say, man, I was doing about 3 million a year every year. Now I'm on pace to do 6. Well, then, you doubled your business. You know what I mean? And then like, all right, I'm trying to get to 10, but am I getting there without doing the same work? That's a win in itself. I didn't go on every appointment. I actually had somebody else go on the first listing appointment without me. So set those kind of things where you have those little wins. And then obviously you set those ultimate goals on what that is.
Okay, perfectly said. And obviously, everyone is going to move at their own path or speed. I just feel like I just wasted time, but, I'm catching up. So thank you.
Well, I think the cool thing is be encouraged, because you could have met me in 2035. You know what I mean? Like, we're here in 2022 and 2021, and God has brought us together for a reason at this very time. And so I would just be encouraged, like what we're building together, all of us is special. And I tell people this all the time. Some people that have been with me as I make these bold statements, and now they see like, dang, this brother just closed a $50 million apartment complex. Well, that same person was with me 13 years ago when I bought a $70,000 duplex. And I was in there doing the make ready myself, painting, dump truck, ripping out the carpet. Now I just bought a $50 million apartment. So I just would encourage you to just know, like, we're here together at this time, and I'm excited because I believe what we're doing at EXP, no one's doing right now. We're doing it in the shadows, but soon as we do it together and build out all these animals that's in this tribe, there's going to be nothing stopping us. So I would say that's the blessing in itself, that God is bringing us together from so many different walks of life, so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures to be together. And we all genuinely just want to see everybody win. Whether we're on Clubhouse, at an event, on Zoom, the spirit is just amazing because it's like we genuinely just, everybody want to see everybody win. There's no hate. There's no judgment. There's no ridicule. It's special.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
T, you always talk about your career. Your money has to have a career. For somebody that has about, 15 to 30,000 allocated to investment properties, are there anything on the horizon that you could recommend?
Yeah, real estate. So 2 things. It feels like a lot of content, but when it's all said and done, it's exactly what you said. You have to have a career. Your money has to have a career. Your career is selling real estate or growing an agent attraction business, whatever it is, you have a career. And then your money has to have a career. And the money is, I'm going to teach you real estate and I'm going to teach you business. And so we can buy small businesses. Like, people don't realize how much plumbers make every year. You look down on a guy, oh, he's got plumbers, but fuck that. I own a plumbing company. There's money to be made in HVAC, in electrical, in plumbing, in sheetrock, in concrete. I'm looking at a pump truck company right now in Montgomery, and I'm looking at the books. I'm like, damn, y'all made that much money pumping concrete? So, and there's 0 down business loans. There's all these ways. We just gotta, and that's why I'm just so excited to actually get all this shit out of my head and on paper for y'all to be like, dang, I can buy a business with 30 grand. Yeah. So I would tell you, start looking at businesses that don't buy anything you're not interested in. And that's including real estate. If I've ever made one mistake in entrepreneurship is I invested or I bought into something I had no interest. Because I believe if you have a genuine interest in something, even if you don't know it, people get those 2 confused. They say, well, I don't know it. I said interest. I didn't say being an expert. So just because you don't know something doesn't mean you're not interested in it. So invest and buy stuff that you're interested in, and you'll always find a way to make it work. And then start looking at businesses. You got buysell.com, BizQuest. There's so many different businesses out there. And you can literally go in and put how much they sell for. Do they have 0 financing? You'll even see a lot of them have SBA loan approved already. But buy businesses or look at businesses that you have a genuine interest in. Like, if you're not interested in a dry cleaner business, don't go buy a dry cleaner business. Buy something you're interested in. That, to me, that's where my intentional congruency comes in. I buy businesses that are connected to TM5 in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Then I can feed the monster. Like, I'm building all these houses. Why not own a plumbing business? I can feed the monster. And then on real estate, if you own a home already, great. Then let's figure out how to go. If you don't own a home and you're on this call, here's the plan. I was talking to my wife about this last night. All my kids, for graduation or for college graduation, or if they get married, I'm buying them a home. I'm putting down 3.5 or 5%. They're going to buy a 4-plex, triplex, or duplex. They're going to move in one side with their spouse. I'm going to give them the down payment for other. By the time I pay for a wedding, it's going to be the same payment or more. And if you don't own a home, that's what I would do. That's the only other thing I tell Erica. There's a couple things I'm like, man, I wish I did that. I wish we would have, for the first 5 years of us being married, we should have bought a house every year with an FHA loan or a conventional 5% down loan and bought a duplex, triplex, or floorplex, or a single family and renting it out. That's the move. So figure out a way to get you some real estate that's income producing. I don't tell people to start off with flipping and developing and wholesale and all that shit up front. Start off with something. The moment you close, when you get to closing, you get a check. You get a prorated rent, security deposit, any back rent, you get a rent roll, you get leases in place. Like, buy something that's like making money the day you close. So you close and you get paid. Did y'all know that I know of some scenarios where people bought a 4-plex, they put down 5%, and when they got to closing, the prorated rent and the security deposit was more than their down payment. That means I wrote a check for $7,500, 10 grand, and then I got a check for 12 grand or 15 grand. And then you move in and stay in one of the units for free, 12 months.
Like I tell my kids, never have a mortgage payment in your life if you do multifamily. I'm a fan.
Yeah. So that would be what I would be looking at, bro.
Hey, what was the second? Was it BizQuest? Is that what you said?
Yeah, BizQuest. But if you go into Google and just put in business for sale, they're gonna all start popping up.
Gotcha. All right, Henry, start looking for that gym in Austin for us.
Last question, y'all. What you got?
I'm on it.
Good stuff today, T-Man. A lot to unpack, but definitely good stuff as always.
I have a question for you. It's kind of pigging off of the other guy's question as far as investing. So for me, I know I want to like do it through my equity in my house. And I think you mentioned a formula on the last call, something about 60-40. Like you don't want to do something. I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. So what we don't want to do is loan to value. There's two things that people don't realize that why '08 happened. It wasn't the market more than anything. It was the market softened for sure, but it was the loan structures. And I'm not gonna even get political right now on this targeting that Bank of America is doing, but this zero down shit that they talking about. There's a lot more red tape to that. So we could talk about that another day. What we think is a win is really, we just need to be careful, especially our culture. You know, as we're trying to really learn home ownership, we just got to remember the reason that '08 happened with Bank of America. I hate that bank, just so we're clear, for many other reasons that we can get into another day. But it was the zero down loans. There was literally people who were owning 3 and 4 houses with zero down. Like they had houses here, and they didn't put a penny into it. So when the value went down, their loan amount was more than what the house was worth. So if my loan amount is $300K, let's say I buy a $300,000 house, I put down $0. And in 12 months, and they were doing zero down interest only. So I have $300,000 house, I put $0 down, interest only. So in 12 months, guess what my note is? $300K. And the value went down to $275 and was going down every day. My loan, that's why it's called the loan is upside down. Upside down means my loan amount is more than my value. And so that's why loan to value ratios are so important. So this whole zero down shit they talking about right now, and they're targeting Black and brown people, I'm not feeling it because we're setting up people for failure. So that's what happened in '08. And that's why I said, if y'all go watch the movie Big Short, it'll explain everything I just said in a more cinematic manner. But it'll give you the basis on why you don't want to do that. So in your scenario, Tamara, you don't want to get past a 60-40 loan to value. You want to keep that loan to value ratio healthy, because if the market turns or something happens, and do you not see, when people realize they sign these loans, they're 60 pages. They're not reading the fine print. So what do you think happened to those people whose loan to values got out of whack? What did the bank do? Anybody know? Anybody?
Recall the loan.
They called the loans. Well, if I got 4 houses with no equity, because my loan to value is 0. And then you mean I'm going to go pay $300K for 4 different houses on the spot? They called it on this Friday. I got to pay for it next Friday? No. So everybody just starts sending the houses back. Their credit was fucked up. And now we had this crisis. And that was the Big Short. There was a guy who actually went and bet on all those prime loans. He bought a bunch of them. And when they flipped, he got them for pennies on the dollar. He became a billionaire overnight. But that's what would happen with a lot of these zero down loans. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, to me, it just goes back to the principle of life. You can't be a great athlete if you don't get up and do the work. So it's like, I can't own something that can waver. Now, here's the difference. That's not income producing. You can buy stuff that generates income for zero down. And as long as it's producing, you can pay the note. But when you buy a personal home, it's not income producing asset for zero down. It's going to get tough. So just keep your loan to value good. 80-20, that means that you have 20% equity, 80% loan to value, and then you just kind of work your way up the scale. Okay, so if I have a 30% equity, 70% loan to value. So I have a $100,000 house. That's what it's worth. Do I have $30,000 of equity and is my note at 70 grand? That's my loan to value ratio. You want to keep that in balance.
Can you say that one more time? Your example, sorry, the 100K, whatever you just said.
No, take your time. So if my house is 100,000, right? And when I bought it, I did a 70-30 loan to value loan. So I put down 30%. I got a loan on the 70%. Then over time, let's say I've been paying on it for 5 years. Now I have another extra 10% equity because I've been paying my note down. Now I'm at a 60-40 or 40-60, however you want to look at it. 60-40. So my loan is now 60%. My equity is 40% because I've built up that other 10%. So you just want to stay in balance versus that same scenario on a zero down Bank of America loan. It's a $100,000 house. I put down 0%. But what people don't realize is they also have closing costs. They also have appraisal fees. They also have insurance. Well, guess what else they have? PMI. They got that mortgage insurance. And before I know it, I didn't just buy a $100,000 house. I actually bought a $115,000 house. And I bought it for zero down. So I'm getting it stacked on top of me. And then when they did those interest-only loans, there was no way to ever pay it off. Then I got to pay my taxes every year. So just be careful with this stuff, y'all. Educate yourself. Make sure your clients are educated.
Thank you. And what was the name of the movie that I think you mentioned or something to watch?
Big Short.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our last couple of sessions have been really good. I think y'all are dialing in because, see, that's the beautiful thing about an AMA versus just BS Q&A. Like, you have time to like watch the videos or whatever, digest what you can, and then come in here with you're coming in with a really strategic thought process versus just like I'm past kind of that clubhouse talk. I don't want to pull down on the screen and tell somebody how to become a realtor no more. Like, I want to dive into deep conversation. All right, y'all have a great day. Proud of y'all. If y'all need me, hit me up.